Hey everybody, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving the 2022 Jeep Compass. And well, if you haven't noticed already, we have a 2020 Jeep Compass right next to it, and I'm joined today by my girlfriend Emily, who is leasing this 2020 Jeep Compass. So I thought today we'd do a little bit of an ownership review, and we'll walk around both of these Compasses and see some of the differences with the facelifted 2022 model. So what do you think? Which one do you think looks better from just this front angle?
I really think that the new one looks nice.
Yeah.
I think it looks a lot cleaner, a lot sharper.
Yeah, and we noticed that the honeycomb little marks here, and obviously this isn't like a real grill, it doesn't go through anywhere. They're a little bit smaller. They've changed some things minorly in the front. It's not super noticeable, but like the grill, the headlights, the running lights, yeah, actually, the running lights on this one are probably like in the headlight, whereas yours are on the bumper.
Condensed.
And full of condensation. Yeah, so different front bumpers. This one's got different wheels on it. I don't know if these are an optional wheel or if these come standard on the new Compass, but I think I actually prefer the wheels on the 2020. I think they just look a little bit more premium. But both cars are finished in granite metallic. That one's got black mirrors, this one's got gray mirrors. And if you walk away from the front end, they are pretty much identical. I was under the impression that they did some sort of a facelift to the back, but as far as we can tell, they look exactly the same. I thought maybe the exhaust tips were a little bit different, but I think these are just slightly dirty, which is why they look different. But they're both limited trim. I mean, these are about as similar as you can get. So let's take a look around the interior of the 2020 before we get into the 22, because that's where the biggest differences lie, is in the interior. So let's take a look in here. So inside the 2020, very typical mid-2010s Jeep. You see the steering wheel in the Renegade and the Compass. Honestly, I've never hated the interior of this older of the 2020, but when you step into the new one, you're like, holy crap. Yeah. So a couple things to point out, and we're in Emily's driving position, so I'm a little cramped, but it's okay. And we've got Squirt right here. A couple things to point out before we get into the new car. We do have an analog cluster in the 2020. We just have a very plain black non-leather dashboard, and our screen is more integrated into the dash as opposed to on it, like you'll see in the 2022. Climate controls are a little bit different as well, but like seat design and things like that are similar. Actually, this sits up a little higher, doesn't it, in the 22, and your cup holders sit a little bit higher. So, and you've got a place to put your phone. So there are some things that are a little bit more convenient in that car. But let me step out here.
There's absolutely nowhere to put your phone.
Right, and
Setup.
that's one of your biggest complaints, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have nowhere to put your phone.
Nowhere to put it.
Right, so take a good look here at the 2020, because we're about to go get into the 22, and you'll see how big of an improvement they made for the newer car. Another thing to point out, this has the sun and sky, or sound, whatever package. So it's got the panoramic moonroof, and then it has some sort of a premium audio system, but it's unbranded. Whereas in the 22, it's actually a branded audio system. It's like an Alpine or something. So let's hop into this car, and we'll take a look at some of the differences in the interior. So this one is finished in light gray. It's obviously a different color. It isn't black. You can actually already see some signs of wear here, or just maybe just dirt on this armrest. But the biggest difference is really just the whole design of the dashboard. Everything just looks a lot more premium.
Yeah, this all does sit up significantly higher.
Yeah, and it just makes everything easier to access. The cup holders are a little bit deeper. You've got a little spot for your phone right here. Let me turn the vent down. There we go. A little spot for your phone here between the cup holders, and then the best part is you have a wireless charger in front of the shifter. Drive mode selector right here for your 3 different drive modes: auto, snow, and then sand and mud. All that really does is lock you into 4-wheel drive and soften your throttle response a little bit. What do you think of the orange in here with the
I kind of like it. I think it breaks it up a lot.
Yeah, it does.
It brings a more like premium feel to the interior, I feel like.
100%.
Just the gray or just the black.
Right. It adds like some dimension to the dash.
Mhm.
The dashboard, like dashboards are so important to making cars feel premium. And like the orange stitched leather, and then even this is fake stitching, but I mean even the fact that they added like this little stitch that goes across
Yeah.
the top of the dash, I think looks pretty nice.
Breaks it up.
Yeah, and then even this like aluminum trim or whatever this is in here. Climate control panel, unfortunately, still no heated seats as a physical button.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, you want to talk about what happened to us when we went to Chicago that one time in your
Yeah.
car?
We took a nice little road trip, and it was pretty cold, so we had heated seats and heated steering wheels on.
Yes.
And probably like 45 minutes to an hour into our drive, the screen stopped working entirely. And so we both ended up with absolutely roasting butt cheeks.
Yeah.
The steering wheel was roasting. You were driving.
Yes. Yeah.
Steering wheel roasting. We had to pull over at a rest stop to turn the car off, restart the entire system, and then turn the car back on.
Yeah, and I haven't had any issues with this system, but that was like a known fault with those older Uconnect systems, is they would just freeze up. The Topher was driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and he was having some issues with this new infotainment where it would freeze and it would lock him out of climate and stuff. So I don't understand what the trend is, what the deal is with putting these controls in the infotainment. I assume it's price related. It's less buttons for them to produce.
It almost looks like they could have put.
Yeah, right. And I've been thinking this.
the
Why don't they
heated
put them
seats down
here?
there.
I mean, they'd have to have somewhere for cooled seats too, is the only thing, you know. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Add another button.
Add another button.
It's just silly. But this infotainment seems to work quite a bit better. It's also a very glossy screen. It's an attractive infotainment system. It works nicely. I don't have my cord in here for Apple CarPlay, but CarPlay looks as it should on the screen.
I would say that it looks generally more updated.
Totally.
The Uconnect that's in the 2020 is so outdated. It looks almost identical to the Uconnect that was in my Chrysler 200 in 2015.
Yeah.
It's like almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, so a much needed update in here. What's in the vehicle menu? Oh, this is another thing that they've added for 22. You can now get 360 camera in your Compass, or surround camera as Jeep calls it, which is nice. It's actually a nice like update. It must be a newer camera too, because it's pretty HD. It looks
Yeah.
nice. You can see your different camera angles here. You can see our sunset. That's your big full screen reverse camera. Yeah, all the cameras look really nice. But yeah, overall just a really nice infotainment so far. I mean, I haven't really driven this too much. I've driven it for probably 3 days total, and I haven't had too many problems. Before we go for a drive, I do want to show you the cargo area and then also the back seat. So I always do that in my videos. Do you watch my videos?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
Okay, yeah, we skipped that, but I will, you can stay up here if you want.
All right.
And I'll just go to the back seat real quick. So, we'll test out the back seat here. You can see equally attractive design on the door panels. We've got our nice orange stitched leather here. Of course, gray continued into the back seat, so we'll test out legroom. Legroom's actually pretty good. My legs like very faintly touch the driver's seat. I'm 5'11", so this is adjusted for me, and it seems to be pretty good. It's definitely not class leading, but I've got plenty of room. I've got good headroom back here too. Armrest with a couple of cup holders, and this has heated rear seats.
No way.
I'm just now noticing that. Yeah, it does.
Wow.
Got to
That's
really
luxurious.
push that. I know. So we've got heated rear seats. You've got USB-A and USB-C ports, as well as a 150 watt wall outlet and a 12 volts cigarette lighter style plug back here too. Actually, will you open the panoramic moonroof? I meant to do that while I was up there. So this is not a new feature, but are the buttons different at all, or are they the
No,
same?
they're the exact
They're
same.
the same. Okay, so that whole unit's probably the same then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the power liftgate.
Oh, right.
I do not have a power liftgate.
Yes, that is another.
That was not even an option.
That's another feature that's been added. Actually, yeah, will you push that too? And we'll watch that open from in here. Oh, there's an Easter egg. There's a little Jeep logo. So we'll go check out.
Jeep Easter egg.
Oh, there's so many Jeep Easter eggs on this thing. Jeep is obsessed with, I mean, look, there's even one where your cups go in the door. The cup holder's got a little Jeep grill on it. Actually, isn't there like a spider inside the fuel
There
door?
is, and there's a lockless on the back windshield.
Oh yeah, okay, so I'll have to show those too. Another Jeep badge right here. So rear cargo space is pretty decent. Okay, so the seats do fold down. We'll go ahead and fold this one down just to show off the room back here. Actually, we'll fold them both down here. So pretty good room. They don't fold completely flat, but when you do have them folded down, you've got a pretty decent amount of room in the back of this Compass. All right, let's go ahead and shut this. Now Jeep always, it's weird because Jeep always has their power liftgate buttons on the inside of, usually cars have them up top here where you'd normally pull it shut, but Jeep puts theirs right here. So it gives you a second to pull your hand out so it doesn't cut it off. The Loch Ness Monster, I hope you guys can see that right here. Jeep is like obsessed with adding things like this to their cars. So cool. Well, let's go ahead and fold the seats up in this thing and then we will go out for a drive. Seats are super lightweight, easy to fold up. Ooh, this one's a little heavier. Ooh, okay. So under the hood of the Jeep Compass, we have a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, same as the one in that Compass. It's one thing they didn't update. And it makes 177 horsepower. And if you have 4-wheel drive, it's mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. So powertrain is all carried over, which is unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
But is what it is, I guess. Would have been nice to complement these luxurious interior features with a slightly more sophisticated powertrain.
Absolutely.
But is what it is, I guess. To me, that's kind of the biggest thing that lets the Compass down, but we'll get more into that once you guys can hear this thing in
action.
Yeah, right. Kind of a heavy steering feel, and this steering wheel is completely new as well. It's similar to the one you get on the Grand Cherokee. Not quite as detailed. On the Grand Cherokee, you get some really nice wood inlays and things like that. But as far as buttons go, we have new integrations of lane keep assist, radar cruise, kind of a lazy throttle response. It's not the best throttle tuning or accelerator pedal tuning in the world. And that was me giving it half throttle, and it literally went to 6,000 RPM. It's just this engine it's so underpowered and so anemic that it has to like really rev itself out to get going, and people don't like that. Especially people that drive cars like this, they don't want to hear their car revving out like this. And I mean, you can
absolutely not.
You can attest to that.
So obnoxious. And for what? For literally no reason.
This is half throttle, not even. It just winds itself out.
So loud.
Yeah. So definitely the biggest letdown here is this carried over powertrain. One thing that is nice though, this fully digital cluster, you can switch between an analog style, even though it's fully digital, or if you hold OK, it switches you to a digital, like totally new style, which is nice.
This is also kind of a minute detail, I feel like, but the screen on the cluster is more of a matte finish versus the screen on the 2020 is a glossy.
Yeah,
it collects dust so easily.
Yeah, usually digital clusters, not all the time, but usually they're like a matte finish just so you can see them. Do you mean this screen?
No.
Oh, that screen.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So usually they keep these matte so they don't reflect. But I don't know. I like when these screens are matte, and I like when these screens are shiny. And I mean, effectively, it's like worse to have a shinier screen, but it just feels more premium to have one that feels more like a phone.
It does.
I don't really know what it is about that, but the matte infotainment screens, and really the only people that do that still are the outgoing Jeeps and Stellantis products, and then Toyota, they still do that too, and it just makes it feel old and clunky, and it's nice when you have an infotainment that just reminds you of a smartphone. Really clunky feeling turn signal controls. I know that sounds silly as well, but I also sometimes find when you use these Jeep turn signals, you like accidentally indicate your brights. You do that?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so sometimes I do that. I actually don't think I've done it in this car, but whenever I drive your car, I do it like every single time.
Yeah.
Now this is flat out. Whew.
Try so hard.
So this has a 9-speed transmission, but it shifts so slow. It's like remarkable how slow it shifts.
You know, it did that on the freeway coming home today. It just held out at like 4,500
Yeah.
and like 45 miles an hour on the freeway, which is terrifying when you're trying to merge
Yeah.
into traffic going 80 miles an hour.
It's just like it all ties into this like really weak powertrain because they have to tune it to be able to safely get up to highway speeds, even though that's kind of debatable.
Yeah.
I mean, it holds gears forever. The transmission, the tune on the transmission is pretty sluggish. You can take manual control if you bump the shtick over to the left. So we'll demonstrate here. And it's actually in the right configuration. So up is down and down is up, which seems backwards, but it's actually correct. So you can bump the stick here. See if it'll hit the rev limiter. Ooh, it will. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, decent reaction time there, but like it's just
I feel like it's almost better.
to shift
To
it manually.
shift it
I know, yeah. I know you should start shifting yours manually. Back into automatic there. Yeah, and we don't have any sort of a sport mode or anything in here, which isn't really needed. But honestly, maybe it would be nice to have a mode that you could put this thing in that would like sharpen up your gear changes and make things react a little bit faster, because as updated as everything looks in here, it still feels very old when you drive it. And I mean, even driving yours, I mean, this feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which is why I really didn't feel like I had to spend much time in this car this week, because I've already driven so many miles in the 2020, and this drives identically. And even that car feels a little bit old, you know, even before 2020. So, yeah, hopefully the next gen of Compass, I mean, to be honest, I think this would be really good as an EV, because it would solve all of the problems. It would solve
so good as an EV.
It would solve all of the problems and all of my complaints if it were just an EV, because of course you wouldn't have an engine or a transmission. So
quite honestly,
it would be great.
If they would have updated the powertrain or turned this into an EV,
right,
when my lease is up next year, I probably would have renewed it to one of these.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because
but-
I mean, I think it looks really good. I think it's an attractive looking SUV, and now the interior is really attractive. So,
but since they haven't done that, we are swaying away from Jeep entirely.
yeah, completely swaying away. So,
I hope it does that weird
the
clunking thing.
yeah. Do you want to talk about what happens with that?
Yeah, we'll just be going randomly. We'll just be going pretty steadily, like 45 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, or even 70, all of a sudden the whole entire car will just clunk, clunk, and it hurts. I'll admit it. It hurts.
Yeah.
It shifts pretty hard, or whatever it's doing, for no reason. For no reason at all.
Yeah, it's almost like it's slamming itself into ninth gear, like the last gear.
So fast.
Yeah, and it just slams itself in. So this has only done it once, and it was minor. It wasn't as hard as your car does it, but I was exiting the highway, I was getting off, and it slammed pretty hard into whatever gear it was slamming into.
And I don't understand why it does that. I don't know if it's the way that I drive,
No,
or the way
it's
that the car is.
just crappy transmission tuning. All right, so we have cruise control, which is honestly kind of complicated to use. And we have, that's the hazards. We have lane keep assist as well. And I did the fuel economy test on this car earlier. And I'm close to saying that it's the worst lane keep and adaptive cruise combo that I've driven. Because it's almost like the car's anxious. Like, you get out on the road, you're behind a semi, right? You're in the right lane, and you want to pass the semi. You put your turn signal on, and as you're getting over, the car thinks you're going to rear end the semi, even if you're nowhere near it. And it like slams on the brakes when you're mid changing lanes. It's super alarming. And then the lane keep it's almost like it's drunk. Like it swivels from side to side. Kind of like this when you're going down the highway, and you got to like really hold on to it. So I just shut that off and didn't use that. But I mean, the driver assists are there. I don't think they're fully fully there yet. It feels like they just like took technology from the Grand Cherokee, threw it in the Compass, and like didn't calibrate it. It's super weird. So it kind of feels like a rushed refresh. Like they did nothing with the powertrain. A lot of the driver aids don't really help, and I don't know. It's just a little bit disappointing to see this, because when I saw the facelift of this car, I was really excited because I thought maybe they would have fixed some of the things that we don't like about yours, and cosmetically they did.
It could have been so great.
Yeah.
It really could have to keep up with the, I would say, compact SUV, if that's
Right.
a thing.
Yep.
To keep up with that kind of market, the interior is great, the facelift is great. If they would have just done a little bit better.
Yeah, and not to mention, this is $37,000, and that is pretty optioned out. I mean, this has like every option that there is to have. It's a limited 4x4. It's got the premium audio system. It's got the panoramic moonroof. I mean, do you think this is a $37,000 vehicle?
No, I really don't. I think the sticker on mine was like 33 or 34.
Right.
And really the only like additional thing that you're getting in this would be like the power liftgate and the branded audio system.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's worth like $3,000 to $4,000.
No. I mean, all prices are going up and stuff, but I agree. I don't think that it excuses that big of a price hike. But also just in general, I mean, if you sat me in this car and I went out for a drive in it and you were like, how much do you think that car's worth? I mean, I would be like under 30 grand.
Yeah.
I'd be like 29, 30,000 would be like maximum that I would say this is worth.
Yeah. I'd be willing to pay probably like low 30s.
But yeah.
Like I'd be willing to.
Right.
I wouldn't be happy about it, but it'd be fine.
Yeah. Right. The saving grace with these, and what really happens to 90% of these, is they get leased. And even though this has a high MSRP, they lease pretty cheap. I mean, are you comfortable talking about what your lease payment is?
Yeah, I pay $250 pre-tax a month for my like absolutely loaded every option.
Right,
Compass,
and
limited.
yeah, and when you look at it that way, it makes it more worth it, because
It does.
$250 a month is like super cheap for anything, you know?
And I leased it when I was still in college, and
Right.
it was perfect for my budget and
Yeah.
and all of those good things.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I think that the buyout price is like 16 or 17 grand for a 3-year lease, 12,000 miles a year. Like you're not going to find anything today.
No.
That's even close to that.
No, and that's always where FCA, Stellantis, whatever, they've always been, you know, the kings of like leasing. Like that's always the joke. Like people will go lease a Scat Pack for like $300 a month and then go wrap it around a tree, because it's so cheap. You just walk in and you just get whatever you want for $300 and that's it. So I'm sure a lot of these will be leased, and you know, in that sense, it does make some sense. Interior wise, I like this better than a Ford Escape. Driving wise, I don't at all. It's not even close. But if you really just care about interior luxuries, then I guess I would choose this.
I think this is a great car. I think I've said it before. This is a great car for like a first-time driver, like a young college or like a young professional,
Totally.
who's looking for something that's like new and feels good and looks good, to like a young college student or a young professional that's like super duper cheap. I feel like this is the perfect car for somebody like that.
Yeah, especially if they're going to lease it.
Yeah, not the perfect car for somebody like us who experiences things like the Genesis GV70.
Right, exactly.
You know, and things like that.
Yeah, and Charlie always drills into my head, like, you have to look at these cars from the potential buyer's perspective. And someone that really doesn't care too much about smoothness of the powertrain, and, you know, if it has the odd clunky shift every now and then, if you can look past that, then, I mean, this is really not too bad of a package. If you can get it, if you can lease it cheap, if you get this really cool orange and gray interior, I think it looks awesome. If you can get that, then, I mean, it doesn't seem too bad. I mean, we live in Michigan. Everyone has a relative that works for Chrysler, Stellantis. They've changed names so many times. I know. So everyone has a relative that works for someone in the big three, whether that be Stellantis, GM, or Ford. So, you know, if this is your choice, then I don't know what that is. It's been there. But
I think that this this is a great car. Like, if I would have taken this to my friend's house in freshman year of college, they'd be like, oh my God, your car's so cool.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. This appeals to people who have no interest in driving.
Absolutely.
Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, not everyone has to be like a car enthusiast. This appeals to someone who really isn't really interested in driving dynamics or anything. They just want the brand name. I mean, Jeep is now a very prominent brand name. They're trying to transition into the luxury segment, and
I mean, it moved me 3 times.
yeah,
It did great.
no, and I'm not
Cart my friends around.
right, and I'm not saying at all that this is a bad car. There are just other choices, if you have different priorities,
Absolutely.
that I would probably pick over it, especially in, you just mentioned Genesis. That's a little bit above, price-wise where this is. But even offerings from Hyundai and Kia and Honda and Toyota that really just excel in driving dynamics and just kind of overall premium feel behind the wheel. But not a bad car. Really nice facelift. I know we've said it a million times, but I'm trying to be positive about it. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on, is just the aesthetics of everything, because I think they did a good job with that. Besides not putting heated seat controls down here, but otherwise, not too bad.
It's great.
Yeah.
If I was in college again, I'd lease it again, but
Right. Yeah.
I'm
But
not,
you're not.
so.
You're grown up. Well, cool. We'll do one more little walk around both Jeeps before we let you guys go. But that's been the new 2022 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4. I guess we should mention also that you can have the Compass as a front-wheel drive only car. And the front-wheel drive car actually comes with a different transmission. It's a 6-speed automatic.
Maybe that's better.
So that might be the way to go. I haven't driven the front-wheel drive car, but maybe that drives smoother. I mean, maybe they have a better transmission tune on that car. Well, thanks for coming along with me and sharing some of your ownership inside info with your Compass. But otherwise, this has been the Jeep Compass. One more little walk around if you guys want to see just one more look at the 2020. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you very soon in the next video. This has been Christopher and Emily from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.